Welcome back, everybody. It's your buddy here with the orange hat, the master of all things orange. Welcome back. We are doing a new theme stream of originals versus remakes, the final one of the month. It is Mortal Kombat 1995 versus Mortal Kombat 2021. And before I get started, I want to say thank you to everybody who has been helping spread or helping me get the watch time. I'm almost there. I just need like 80 more hours, I think, and I should be in the watch time, or it could be a couple hundred. I can't specifically test or look at how exactly much there is, but it does say 3.9K. So I'm hoping I can get the 4,000 watch hours before the end of the month, but time will tell. Also, look for me tonight on the Barroom Podcast. Tomorrow I will try to get some more content out for you. Thursday I will also do this, or I will do more of the same. Depends on what's interesting out there in the world of entertainment. Also, stay tuned for Orange Hat Uncensored, where I give my uncensored thoughts on stuff with Janet from Another Planet, Bruce from Dick's Division, and Ruben Haynes. Sundays are the weekly recaps, where I go on with discussing 4 topics throughout the week that may be of interest to people in the entertainment industry. And other than that, next month will be the ones versus 2 theme streams of the verses, where I will be taking the first installment of a movie and the second installment of a movie, and I will basically compare which one is better in terms of quality as we do in these ones. So let's say hello to the chat. We got Neozoic in the chat right now. Hello. Funny question: Western anime or Western animation versus anime, DC animated universe, Batman Beyond, yada yada, versus Dragon Ball franchise. I like the Dragon Ball Z animation. Now the more virtual shit that they're doing, like in Dragon Ball Superhero, not a fan of. As for the animation, like for Batman Beyond, Superman, Justice League and stuff, I'm actually watching the Justice League series on Netflix, revisiting childhood as it is, or as it were. And I actually got to say, I truly do enjoy both styles. I like how there is some rather more bloodier versions of the anime style, and however, in the 90s, animes or animation was actually pretty good in itself as well. Both are very basic, but there is a little bit more detail in Japanese anime, where they give a lot more nuanced detail, as in like hair and whatnot. So with that out of the way, let's get into this Mortal Kombat original versus remake. I will be going over several different categories, beginning with story, then cast, writing, effects, acting, leads, music score, director, and budget, meaning was it successful and whatnot. So with that, let's go to story. And both of these are very basic stories. The Earth is defending itself from the forces of Outworld. So it's just how the story is told. Now, the original 1995 movie is very different from the 2021 in that there is less of a gore factor. In fact, there is very little gore when it comes to the 1995 film, where in 1995 the movie was, I do believe, PG-13. They wanted a younger audience, and so they didn't really go with the bloodier origin of how the movie, or of the movie's origin, which was the video games, which were controversial at the time. I didn't care about the controversy at the time. I was just a kid playing video games, you know? So when it comes to the story, I do like how Liu Kang, because back then Liu Kang was the character to beat Shang Tsung and whatnot. Now, or they also had practical effects with Goro, which put the movie over budget. Also was a pain in the ass to operate. Um, it had a great cast, but we'll get into that later. Funny because people's main complaints for 1990 film was the lack of gore. Yeah, it is the lack of gore. There is very little lack of gore, and that is one of the things it has against it. Because Mortal Kombat is, by its definition, a gory game. And hello, Junebug. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Um, so the story basically unfolds. It unfolded as a first chapter, and it unfortunately devolved into a pathetic second chapter. But when it comes to yeah, Bridget Wilson showing, yeah, right. But as it was, Mortal Kombat 95 actually had a good premise. They stuck to the basics of the story. 10 straight Mortal Kombats have to be won, otherwise Earth is pretty much screwed. They've won 9. This will be the 10th tournament. And Raiden is basically helping the human fighters because that is his job. And they have to fight against several characters throughout the movie. Now, the characters they have back then were very basic. They had Sub-Zero, they had Scorpion, they had Reptile, they had Goro, and they also had Kano, where the humans had Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, and Sonya Blade, as well as a few minor characters like Arlene. So, or also they had Katana on, or Princess Katana on their side. Now, as for the second movie, which was the 2021 movie, they had Liu Kang, Kung Lao, not the Kung Lao of old, but the descendant of Kung Lao, which was just Kung Lao, and then there's the Great Kung Lao that was back in the ancient times of Mortal Kombat. So then they also have Melina. They also have General Reiko, which I did not like how Reiko was portrayed in the movie. They made Reiko this fucking mindless hammer swinging nut job where he was literally the general of Outworld in the games. He was a fucking badass that was pretty hard to defeat when it came to fighting him in the games. You also had freaking Cabal and Natara of all characters. They put Natara in the second one. Shang Tsung, Goro, Reptile. The Reptile that they used in the second movie was actually pretty decent. They couldn't exactly do that in the original movie. They had him as this small little lizard thing that ended up going inside of a statue and becoming a avatar, or the statue became a fighting avatar for him. So, yeah, that was interesting. But in the story for Mortal Kombat 2021, it shows the beginning with Scorpion versus Sub-Zero back in ancient times, and the origin of the feud, where the Shirai Ryu were slaughtered by the Lin Kuei. And unfortunately, Scorpion's family was killed except for one child who was his descended heir, or descends the bloodline further into the main character in this movie, Cole. And we also have Jax, Sonya, Kano, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao, as well as Natara, Goro, Cabal, Sub-Zero and Scorpion were the saving graces for the story of Mortal Kombat 2021. So I'm just going to refer to them as 95 and 21. 21 has a decent story. However, their biggest mistake was adding their own original element to the story. You got to find your arcana. You don't get powers unless you have a mark on your body. And it's all like, well, that's all well and good, except that's not really how it goes. And not to mention, who was this person that is supposed to be descended from Scorpion? Yet nobody heard of him. He has a weird freaking power. His arcana is this kinetically absorbing armor that gives him more strength and whatnot. And then both movies, 95 and 21, are left to open-ended so that there can be sequels. But when it does come to the overall story, the execution of story was done better in the original Mortal Kombat. So Goro, truly amazing, and the fact that they actually did it practically looks well. And it was extremely hard for them to do. So let's move on to hold on. So let's show the first score, which is the original takes the story. Now so here's the score right now. The original 1, remake 0. So with the acting out of the, or with the not the acting, but the story out of the way, let's go to cast. Now, let's bring up the casts, and I will address your comment in a second, Neozog, about Christopher Lambert. I wanted to save it for this category. So with the Mortal Kombat 95 cast, this is where I cover how many different actors and actresses in the cast that I know about, and whether or not I know them from multiple movies, not just one or two, or not just one. So Robin Shou, I know from 2 separate movies. Christopher Lambert, I know from many different movies. Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa, I know from several different movies. Lyndon Ashby, several movies. Bridget Wilson, I don't know her from a lot of movies, like box office movies, but I have seen her in like USA and Lifetime movies. Talisa Soto, I do not, or as much as I like her in the movie, I do not know her from anything beyond Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Trevor Goddard, I'm not very familiar with him. So let's see here. Robin Shou, Christopher Lambert, Hiroyuki Tagawa, Lyndon Ashby. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see here. Frank Welker, I know of the voice, or I know him as a voice actor. Gerald Okamura, I do know from this movie, as well as Big Trouble in Little China, as well as a few other movies back in the 80s and 90s. And Tom Woodruff Jr., who was basically Goro, or the body work for Goro. He also did, or I know him as body work because he's in Aliens, or he's in the Alien 3 to Alien versus Predator and Alien versus Predator Requiem movies. He's the guy in the suit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As for the cast for 2021, I know of Joel Taslim from a couple of movies. Hiroyuki Sanada, I know of several movies. Louis Tan, I've seen him in a couple movies, so that's 3. Ludi Lin, I've seen in a couple movies, that's 4. Tadanobu Usano and Makad Brooks, 5 and 6. Shinhan, that's 7. So I know 7 actors so far. Is there an 8th? Is there an 8th? Is there an 8th? No, I am not seeing an 8th. So when it comes to the cast, it's 8 versus 7. Hey, Vanya, it's good to see you. Um, the cast goes to the original. I am very much aware that the or of many of the different actors and whatnot. The thing that both helps and hurts the 2021 movie is that their uh their cast is mostly martial artists, and martial artists are not well known unless you are paying attention to that specific theater. So the remake or the original does take the cast as well. So let's do that, and now shut that off. So moving on or before we move on to the next category, let's address some of the chat. How would I compare Christopher Lambert's roles with or as Lord Raiden with Connor McLeod, Subway Tarzan, Greystoke, Legend of Tarzan, Legend of or Lord of the Apes? I haven't seen anything past Highlander in this list. I know he plays in or as Tarzan and Raiden and Highlander. I have seen him in shows like NCIS LA. I thought that he was actually he has a gift. He's also very good in Highlander the series, as he came in as Connor McLeod in the first episode of this series. Christopher Lambert has or was a great actor back then. He still has the or he has a voice that is very unique, and I think he did a good job with it. As for Hiroyuki Sanada, he's my favorite Japanese actor. Compare his roles with Scorpion, with The Last Samurai, The Wolverine, Speed Racer, 47 Ronin, Rush Hour 3. Have not seen Rush Hour 3. I wish I had. John Wick Chapter 4, Life, Bullet Train, etc. He was good in life. He was a compassionate and seeking knowledge kind of thing, but he also fucked up because he was giving that alien what it needed to survive and expand. But he played that role very well. I haven't seen Speed Racer, but 47 Ronin, he does a very good job. When it comes to movies that are made in Hollywood where there is any sort of Japanese culture or historical context or samurai culture context, they go to Hiroyuki Sanada. Hiroyuki Sanada is a person that takes all of this extremely seriously. And therefore, he is the one person that really does a good job at making these movies as authentic when they have these sort of themes in them. He wants to make them as authentic as possible. So having Hiroyuki Sanada as Scorpion was actually extremely well done. Not only is the man a gifted martial artist, but he's also a well-respected actor. I mean, it would be such a highlight if I was to even shake the man's hand. I mean, that's how much I respect Hiroyuki Sanada. I wouldn't fanboy over him, but I would say that the man has a gift for his talent and acting and his knowledge. So, moving on to the next category, which is writing. The writing for the first film is very basic. You have the basic background for each of the characters. That is all you really need to know. And therefore, you have a more cohesive story. Where the 2021, has a little bit more in-depth background for Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Kano, Sonya Blade, Cole. Jax really doesn't give you too much of a background on him. You have a lot more background on Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So the writing for that does help. It gives you more background to actually invest you more into these characters, where the other characters are lesser known, like Shang Tsung, all we really know about him is he's evil and he wants to cheat. The writing for the story itself, which is involved in the story, it suffers because they introduced original elements. Introducing original elements with your writing, which is part of the writing as well as the story, you have to make it good. You have to make it not sound corny or cheesy. Unfortunately, they have some cheesy dialogue in the film. They have dialogue that is just, it's like, why? Why go there? I mean, I do like Kano's character is like, sit down, shut up, and get me a fucking egg roll. And then his power comes through. But it's like, really, man? I mean, I like that kind of writing because that's true to his character. Other elements of it does have a hard time. I do have a hard time reconciling. Where, because when you do try to do a more, complex writing for the characters and whatnot, you have to make sure the elements work. If they don't work, you are going to have a harder time expressing your story. You also need a director who is competent enough to do this. And we'll go into that one later on. But yes, the writing is basic because or in the 95 one, because it lets you know all that you really need to know. And then it tells you, or it gives you the fight scenes, and it keeps the story going. It doesn't really slow down too much with the pacing in either. In 2021, there is some uneven pacing, which harms the film even further with the writing. Hiroyuki was trained by Sonny. I'm guessing you meant Sonny Chiba. Every time, or Junebug. Repeating something like that confuses the hell out of me. Or every time I see, he definitely reminds me of Toshiro Mifune. Okay. Question: did you think Mortal Kombat 2021 has some same problems as Anderson's Resident Evil films, where the main character is not from the game and both are Gary, Stu, Mary Sue, Cole, and Alice? No. Alice, they explain why she is so powerful. She was given the virus. Also, she is in the games. There is or Code Veronica, except that her characters, or essentially the name is changed. With Cole, he's not a Gary Stu. That dude is a down on his luck fighter who gets his ass kicked a lot in the film. He's not a Gary Stu at all. So I don't really see the Mary Stu Gary Stu thing. It's because she has these powers that she is that skilled. However, she is still vulnerable enough to get killed or depowered throughout the films. The main problem with Mortal Kombat 2021 is that they put way too much information in it and didn't explore it to a satisfactory level. So when it does come to the writing, let's get to the banners. The score now sits at 3-0. So yes, 3-0. So now we are moving on to effects. Now, the effects of the first film, the digital effects and whatnot, very dated. And when I say dated, I mean nowadays that level of effects are used for pre-visual renders. Pre-visual, not storyboards, but digital storyboards. Where today's, or where 2021's Mortal Kombat special effects were actually pretty good. They were actually very well done. Reptile could have been a little bit better. However, considering the budget and whatnot, I think that they did a well enough job with it. Um, when it does come to special effects, or when it comes to effects, I mean practical and digital. Mortal Kombat 95 did great practical effects. They had some very good practical effects as well in Mortal Kombat 2021. When it came to the ice and whatnot, they actually did a very good job selling that the place was very frozen in the final scenes. And they also did a very good job showing the frozen remains of Scorpion's family. I mean, when they did the special effects as well, it was also extremely well done. Where in the original 95 film, you had great practical effects, but your digital effects have not aged well. So looking at the quality, even back then, the digital effects were not that good. The main problem with the digital effects was that they didn't have proper timing and cue timing for certain actions. When Shang Tsung awakens Reptile and says, "Keep an eye on Princess Katana and keep her away from the humans," you see him wake up and then you see him jump down. But before he jumps down, you see Shang Tsung look down, but he's actually supposed to be tracking Reptile, not looking, or basically looking down before Reptile even jumps down. So, when it comes to the effects, let's see here. Let me update the score. When it comes to the fourth category of effects, Mortal Kombat 2021 takes the score. So let's get back to the chat here. Question: do you think Mortal Kombat 2021? Oh, we already answered that. Is 2021 worse than Mortal Kombat Annihilation? No. Mortal Kombat Annihilation sucked. Plain and simple. It sucked. Where this movie actually had a decent story and whatnot. So yeah, when it comes to comparing a non-existent Mortal Kombat movie where people don't even really want to acknowledge it compared to 2021 has value to it, entertainment value. So moving on to the next banner, or to the next category rather. Leads: Robin Shou, Lyndon Ashby, and Bridget Wilson. You had some good ones there. Where in the cast for 2021, Hiroyuki Sanada, Joe Taslim, and Louis Tam. Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim were very good. Like very, very good. Not kidding. They were very good. Robin Shou, Lyndon Ashby, as those two, I gotta say, they were also good, but they do not hit the same level of oh wait, did I go to effects, or what's the score right now? Oh geez, I shouldn't even go, or well, I'll do leads right now and then I'll go to acting. The leads right now, you got Hiroyuki Sanada, you got Joe Taslim, who are very good in their roles. You also have what was his name? Louis Tan. I thought that he was okay, but we didn't really care too much about him. Bridget, or you have Mortal Kombat 95. You have two good leads and Bridget Wilson, who is not very well known. I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought she did okay as Sonya Blade, but I'm going to give this because you have a very great legendary actor like Hiroyuki Sanada. The other three are not very well known even in today. So when it does come to leads, the remake actually takes the lead or takes the point. So now we're going to go to acting, which we should have done in the last one, but now we're back to it. So acting. Let me make sure I have all this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're in the 6th category, but now acting is was the 5th category. I made a mistake. The acting in the first movie, due to a very basic writing script and a very basic story, you have very good acting. In the acting for the remake, you are having exposition, far more exposition that is necessary. You have moments that are not well thought of or thought through, like a slow down or like a slow-mo dialogue and slow-mo bits. It's like not the best moments. Another problem is when you have actors or when you have martial artists being actors and not the other way around. That is another big problem that you have. When you are using martial artists as actors, or if they can't act, it hurts the film. When you have people like Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim, those were good actors. Those were actors who did a good job. Then you have Tadanobu Asano. He's also a very good actor. I give him props in this one. But Robin Shue, Lyndon Ashby, and Bridget Wilson are also very talented actors. You also have Christopher Lambert, who is a very good actor, as well as Hiroyuki Tagawa. So when it does come to the acting of martial artists as well, who can act as well as do the martial arts, or when it does come to that, you have a movie in Mortal Kombat 1995 that takes the point here. Because Mortal Kombat 1995 had martial artists who could act as well as actors who did a very good job with the training and who made it very, shall we say, very convincing is the word that I was looking for. So as for acting, the original takes the point. So we are now at 4-2, and the next one is music and score. I think everybody knows where this one is going to go. It's definitely going to go to the original. The original had the Mortal Kombat theme. I mean, yes, there was an updated theme. There was more of a score in 2021 instead of a soundtrack, where the soundtrack worked better in the 1995 film. A score worked better in the 2021 film. So both movies, or everybody knows that you have that very iconic Mortal Kombat theme. But however, even the score for Mortal Kombat is also extremely well done. the 1995 one. So when it does come down to it, the score, or for music and score, it goes to the original. Now down to director and budget. So it right now looks like it's going to be a runaway with the original, but we are still going to go through these categories. The director for Mortal Kombat was Paul W.S. Anderson. Now, dude is a decent decent director. However, some of the stuff he doesn't fully know his lore with. That was one of the main things he didn't know too well with Mortal Kombat. However, you had the director for Simon McCoy. He only did this movie and another movie that I'm aware of, but haven't seen, and that's it. Where I am well aware of Paul W.S. Anderson, or Paul Anderson's works. So director and directing also goes to the original. So now it's 6-2. Now let's go back to the chat because I see that there's another in the thing. Fun question. Who would win in a fight, Robin Shu's Liu Kang or Louis Tan's Cole Young? I would say Robin Shu's Liu Kang. Cole Young was a fighter who was basically no longer at his best. He is past his prime. He was getting he was being paid fights to lose and to get his ass kicked. So yeah. How would I compare Louis Tan's Cole with his other roles such as Deadpool 2, Wu's Assassin, Shadow and Bone, and Into the Badlands? Was he freaking Shatterstar in Deadpool 2? I think he was. Huh. I haven't seen Deadpool 2 in a while, but I am going to be watching it for next month because I got to compare Deadpool 1 versus Deadpool 2. But Star, I thought he did okay. Not the best look of him, though. So moving on to the next banner, or the next category, budget. So now that that's no longer needed, the original budget for Mortal Kombat 95 was $20 million, and it hit on a $122.2 million budget, or grossing worldwide. I would say that that is a very good success, because if you do the tracking of marketing and whatnot, double your budget or 2.5 it, you got 20, or you got to make 40 million or more, 50 million. Let's just say it at a 50 million to make bank. They did that. They got 120 million plus. So the movie definitely was a success. Now, looking at the budget for the 2021, 55 million, and it only grossed over 84 million. So yeah, unfortunately, the movie became it did become HBO Max's most successful film launch to date. Mortal Kombat 2, there is a sequel coming. However, the movie is still not considered a success. This movie bombed. Because marketing, double the marketing, you got to make over 130 million, or you got to make at least 110 to 115 million dollars or more. So yeah, Mortal Kombat 2021 only made $84 million on a $55 million budget. So that puts it up to the original making 7 or at 7 and the remake at 2. Now, do not get me wrong, folks. As much as I do like the original, there is better sequences in the fighting when it comes to the remake. You have greater fights in the or in between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, or actually of Sub-Zero and Scorpion when it comes to the fights between Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim, where in the original 95, Lyndon Ashby versus Scorpion and Robin Shou versus Sub-Zero, and then Robin Shou versus Reptile, very good fights. The fight between Shang Tsung and Liu Kang, also great. The fights that they had in between the beginning and the end of Mortal Kombat 2021 paled in comparison. I mean, sure, you got good character moments like frickin' Cabal, where Liu Kang throws a fireball at him and he just whips around his stuff, or he whips around his hook swords, dispelling the fire or disabling fireball essentially, so it doesn't hurt too much. And that's a great moment and a great pose and whatnot, but it still is not enough to save a good fight, you know? So, how would I rank the Mortal Kombat films from worst to best? As well as the animated films. Animated films is where it actually does. Okay, this troll right now, and yes, I am calling you a troll. You're going to get deleted if you do that again. So you do not come into a chat and do shit like that. So how would I compare the live action? It's obviously original, remake, Annihilation. When it comes to the other ones, I would say Scorpion's Revenge is by far the best one that they did. Battle of the Realms is a good close second, and Snowblind is also a good one. Fun question: who would win in a fight? Lyndon Ashby's Johnny Cage or Hiroyuki Sanada's Scorpion? Hiroyuki Sanada's Scorpion would slaughter Johnny Cage. Just saying. He would slaughter him. I mean, as much as I like Lyndon Ashby, Hiroyuki Sanada is no contest. He'd slaughter Johnny Cage. But now we also have that second one where freaking Carl Urban is going to play Johnny Cage. I'm trying to imagine this, and I'm having a hard time doing it. Because Carl Urban, I mean, how old is Carl Urban now? He's got to be up there. How old is Carl Urban? He's 51 fucking years old. And they're having him play Johnny Cage. I do have, objectively speaking, I do have my worries on that. I will watch the film, of course, to see how well it does. But honestly, they need to really, or that's going to be a tough sell with Johnny Cage. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough sell. So anyway, folks, that is the going to be the stream. The remake is a clear loser to this one. So the original is definitely the winner. It was overall an objectively better film. However, there are sequences in the 2021 film that were better than the original film. The fights or at the beginning and the fights at the end were objectively better. Any fight that, or as well as Sub-Zero versus Jax, the fights that Sub-Zero were in were infinitely better. It's just that the full or the more broader movie of 95 was actually the objectively better film. So going into March, we have ones versus two. So next week is going to be 300 versus 300 Rise. So, or Rise of the Empire, or Rise of an Empire. So stay tuned for that one. Tonight I will be on Jacob's Barroom podcast on Society Reviews. So definitely tune into that, folks. Yeah, 95 wins fatality. Thank you to Neozoic, Vanya, Junebug, and anybody else that was in here. Y'all are freaking awesome folks. So I'm going to say goodbye to this one. And I will see you next week for that, plus uncensored. And I will also do my best to get some stuff out to you. Also, if you want to read my my new Dark Marvel story, I have the first major or the major storyline, the or the fights on Earth, that is finally completed. So if you want to, or if you've been waiting for a finished product, you now have a finished product if you want me to send you a link to that document. It is a Word document. It's over 200 pages, and I'm now going into the galactic stuff, but I do have a break that says do not read beyond this point if you don't want, or if you don't want to keep waiting for the galactic stuff. I'll let you know when the galactic chapters are done. So with that out of the way, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all are freaking awesome. If you're catching this on the replay, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Trying to get to 2,000 subs before the end of the year. So if you can help me out there, and 4,000 hours, I need like 200 more to go. So if you can help me out with that, that'll be awesome. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. This has been Orange Hat, the man with the orange hat and the master of all things orange. You have a wonderful day, and always remember to stay humble. Take care.